It's not fabricated. His mama told him. And Wanda wrote an affidavit. The affidavit's been out there all this time, all these years. Now, all of a sudden, it's fabricated? First of all, everybody, this case has been going on since 2000, I want to say 2011. It's been 14 years. 14 years of us pursuing, in the beginning, paternity, and then after that, the damages and all the things that go along with litigating fraud. Let's get that clear, right? There has been no maternity after that. What we're doing right now in California against Mr. Carter, Jay-Z, we are looking for damages, everybody. We're not looking to go back and do any kind of do-over, if you will, of a state court. Let's get that clear, right? This case that we're doing is not about paternity. It is about fraud and fraud upon the court.
What if one of the most powerful men in music, someone with billions to his name, global influence, and a picture-perfect family, had a secret he spent over a decade trying to bury? For 14 years, one man has claimed to be Jay-Z's hidden son. Not a tabloid rumor, not a random accusation, but a legal battle with affidavits, DNA controversy, and court documents that have been fought all the way up to the Supreme Court. And here's the twist. Jay-Z has never taken a DNA test. Not once.
Why?
What is he hiding? The story involves a teenage girl from Philadelphia, a mysterious hookup in Brooklyn, and a legal war that just won't go away. Even Beyoncé is allegedly involved behind the scenes. But just when it seemed like the truth might come out, everything suddenly changed. This is the story Jay-Z doesn't want you to know. The name Rhymir Satterthwaite might not ring any bells, but for more than a decade, he's claimed to be the secret child of Sean Jay-Z Carter. His story isn't based on gossip or internet speculation. It begins with a signed affidavit from his late mother, Wanda, and a quiet confession she made when Rymir was just a child. According to her, it all started in 1992. She says she met Jay-Z in Philadelphia, and not long after, he brought her to his aunt's apartment in Brooklyn. They hooked up. Allegedly, they used protection, but something went wrong. That was the last time she saw him. Wanda was 16 at the time. For years, she raised Rymir without ever publicly naming Jay-Z. But when Rymir turned 8, she sat him down and told him the truth, or at least what she believed to be true. Jay-Z was his father. The man listed on his birth certificate, Robert Graves, wasn't biologically related to him. That was proven in 2011 through a DNA test, and Robert's name was legally removed. From that moment on, Rymir became obsessed with one question. If Robert wasn't his father, who was? His mother insisted there were only 2 men she had ever been with. One was Robert, the other, Jay-Z. But it wasn't just a family story whispered in private. Wanda signed her name on official court documents. She filed lawsuits. She wrote affidavits. She tried to force Jay-Z to take responsibility. And Rymir wasn't looking away. If someone accused you of being their father, and you knew it wasn't true, wouldn't you just take the test and move on? That's exactly what makes this story so strange. For over a decade, Rymir and his family have begged, pleaded, and sued to get Jay-Z to take a simple DNA test. Just one test. But no matter how many times they asked, Jay-Z refused. Not once did he voluntarily agree to prove the truth.
Why?
Was it about protecting his image? Or was there something in that test he didn't want the world to see? It wasn't like there weren't opportunities. Court after court, year after year, Rymir filed motions asking for a paternity test. But Jay-Z's legal team always had an answer. In one case, they argued the lawsuit was filed in the wrong state. In another, they claimed the timeline was too late to reopen the issue. And as the courts continued to reject Rymir's filings, Jay-Z stayed silent, never confirming, never denying, just fighting behind closed doors. According to Rhymir, the reason is clear. If Jay-Z were forced to take a DNA test, it wouldn't just expose a hidden child. It might also confirm that he had a relationship with Wanda when she was underage. That's not just a scandal, that's a legal nightmare. And yet, through it all, Jay-Z never said the words, "He's not my son." He just avoided the test. At first, it was simple. Rhymir just wanted a DNA test. But when that didn't happen, things spiraled into a legal war that has lasted over 14 years. And it's still not officially over. Lawsuits were filed in state courts, dismissed, refiled, transferred, and blocked. One even made it all the way to the Supreme Court, only to be rejected because they said it didn't fall under their jurisdiction.
My mom had to sit down with me. I guess she thought I was old enough to know now, and she been saying Sean Carter, that's what she was calling him at first before she was calling Jay-Z, and I really didn't know who that was because I was young and, you know, had my little brother, and I really wasn't worrying about it. She was saying it a lot, but I really just was going along with the person I was just seeing, like the person I looked at who was taking care of me at that time. I really wasn't really trying to understand what my mom was talking about, but she constantly put it in my head like, son, it's not your father, and I really want you to know it is. This person is your father, and I just want you to know. And she continued to tell me that over the years and over the years and over the years, even until I was grown.
But Rymir and his godmother, Lily, didn't back down. In 2025, they filed a new lawsuit in federal court, not for child support, not to force a paternity test, but to accuse Jay-Z of fraud and emotional damage. They claimed his legal team had manipulated the system, blocked due process, and intentionally buried evidence. Jay-Z's response? He fired back hard. His lawyers called the filings frivolous, accused Rymir of abusing the court system, and demanded the case be thrown out. They even pointed to a 2022 injunction that barred Rymir from filing any more lawsuits about the matter in New Jersey without court permission. According to Jay-Z's camp, this new case was just an attempt to sneak around that order. And for a moment, it looked like Jay-Z had the upper hand again. The judge granted him more time to respond, setting a deadline of July 18th, 2025. But then something unexpected happened. Just 4 days after that deadline passed, Rymir withdrew the case. No explanation, no press conference, just a vague post on social media saying changes were made and that everything now was about his mother. The timing? Suspicious. The silence? Deafening. Behind all the legal back and forth, there's one detail most people don't want to talk about, but it's possibly the most explosive part of the entire case. When Wanda says she met Jay-Z, she was just 16 years old. If her story is true, that means Jay-Z, already an adult at the time, hooked up with a teenage girl. And if Rymir really is his son, that doesn't just make this a case about hidden paternity. It becomes a question of statutory misconduct, something no high-profile figure wants on record. Rymir's godmother, Lily, even said that early on, Jay-Z's legal team seemed open to handling things quietly. They talked about possibly helping with Rymir's music career. They even floated the idea of signing him to Jay's record label once he finished high school. But suddenly, everything changed. Different lawyers stepped in, and the tone shifted from open communication to total shutdown. No more conversations, no offers, just silence and legal resistance.
Why?
Lily believes they realized what was at stake. If Jay-Z took the test and it confirmed paternity, it would also confirm the timeline, and that timeline could destroy more than just his image. It could potentially raise questions that go far beyond family court. So instead of answers, there were delays. Instead of tests, there were filings. And as the years dragged on, so did the speculation. Because the moment this stops being about money and starts being about age, everything changes. At this point, the courtroom became less about justice and more like a chessboard, with Jay-Z's legal team always one move ahead. In the latest case, Rymir's side served Jay-Z with a lawsuit on May 19, 2025. They followed every procedure, filed proof of service, and even pushed for default ruling when Jay-Z didn't initially respond. But just when things looked like they might actually move forward, Jay-Z's lawyers stepped in, claiming they hadn't been properly served and had only learned about the case on June 3rd. They requested more time to respond, and the court granted it, extending the deadline to July 18, 2025. Then came the most bizarre part. Rymir suddenly withdrew the case, just 4 days after the deadline passed. No press release, no media interviews, just a quiet notification filed on July 22nd and a cryptic message on social media that said, "Changes were made to my case. It's all about my mother now." That one sentence raised even more questions than it answered. What changed? Did something happen behind the scenes? Was Rymir pressured to back down? Or did Jay-Z's team finally offer something off the record? And why would someone fight for over 14 years, only to drop the entire case without warning? Even Rymir's supporters were confused. But his godmother later doubled down, insisting that the case wasn't about paternity anymore. It was about fraud upon the courts, and they weren't giving up. If that's true, then this may not be the end of the story, just a quiet pause before something even bigger drops. The moment this story hit the public, people picked sides. Some saw Rymir as a victim, chasing answers, not a check. Others believed he was just another person trying to cash in on a billionaire's fame. And honestly, with so much back and forth, it's easy to wonder, is this really about the truth, or is it just a money grab?
It's not fabricated. His mama told him. And Wanda wrote an affidavit. The affidavit's been out there all this time. All these years. Now all of a sudden, it's fabricated?
Jay-Z's legal team says the motive is clear. They claim Rymir has filed lawsuit after lawsuit for one reason, to force a settlement. They paint him as obsessed, desperate, and financially motivated. And allegedly, Beyoncé agrees. According to reports, she's privately stood behind Jay, even as this controversy unfolded. But Rymir has repeatedly said the opposite. In court documents, on interviews, and even in social media posts, he's made it clear he's not asking for child support. He's not demanding millions. Instead, he's seeking general and compensatory damages for emotional distress, public humiliation, reputational harm, and years of unanswered questions. His legal filings mention legal expenses, yes, but they also emphasize something deeper: closure.